I'm afraid nobody will ever know the truth. The real truth is impossible to understand unless you were here.
To truly understand the weight of Road to Vostok, you have to stop looking at it as a product on a storefront and start viewing it as a manifesto. In an era where the extraction shooter genre has become cluttered with flashy skins and predatory battle passes, Road to Vostok arrives like a cold wind from the Finnish border, stripping away the noise to remind us what tactical survival actually feels like. Now that we've had significant time to live within its borders, it's clear that this isn't just an indie success story. It is a blueprint for the future of the medium. The first thing that hits you isn't the combat, it's the silence. The game captures a very specific, haunting liminality. Walking through the abandoned coastal villages of Finland, you aren't just looking for loot. You are navigating a ghost story. The way the light filters through the pine needles, the realistic sway of the grass, and the oppressive overcast skies create a mood that is deeply melancholy. Most games use post-apocalyptic settings as an excuse for rubble and monsters. Vostok uses its setting to evoke a sense of trespassing. You feel like a ghost in a world that no longer wants you. Every abandoned dacha or rusted-out car tells a silent story of a sudden evacuation. This environmental storytelling is achieved without a single line of dialogue, relying entirely on the player's observation. It respects your intelligence enough to let you piece together the tragedy of the world through the placement of a child's toy or a half-empty box. When we dive into the gunplay, we aren't talking about point and click. The weapon handling in Road to Vostok is perhaps some of the most tactile ever programmed. There is a perceptible physical weight to every movement. When you raise your rifle, it doesn't just snap into place. There is inertia. The weapon collision system means that if you're standing too close to a wall, your barrel will physically deflect, forcing you to think about your spacing in a way most shooters ignore. The attachment system is where the game's tactical hobbyist heart beats loudest. It isn't just about adding +5 to accuracy. It's about the trade-offs of ergonomics and silhouette. Putting a massive suppressor on your rifle makes you quiet. Yes, but it makes the gun unwieldy in the tight corridors of a bunker. The way the Godot 4 engine handles these physics, the recoil that feels erratic and violent rather than a predictable pattern, forces you to treat every firefight with a genuine sense of panic. You don't engage enemies in Vostok, you survive them. We have to talk about the Vostok mechanic, because it is the game's most radical departure from modern design. Most games are afraid to make the player lose. They want you to keep playing, so they give you safety nets. Road to Vostok cuts the net. The world is split by a border. On the western side, you have your shelters, your stashes, and a sense of progression. But once you cross into Vostok, you are entering a permadeath zone. If you die there, the game deletes your save. This sounds cruel, but in practice, it is transformative. It changes your heart rate. It changes how you peek a corner. When your actual, real-world hours of progress are on the line, a simple scavenge run becomes a high-stakes thriller. It brings back a sensation that has been missing from gaming for a long time. Consequence. This mechanic turns the game into a test of character. Do you risk the Vostok zone for that rare medical crate? Or do you live to fight another day? That tension is the secret sauce that makes this game impossible to put down. From a development standpoint, Road to Vostok is a miracle. When the developer, Ante, made the public and risky decision to ditch Unity for the open-source Godot engine, the industry held its breath. It was a David versus Goliath moment. Seeing the game now, with its stunning global illumination, fluid animations, and complex AI is a triumph for independent creators everywhere. It proves that the tools of creation are becoming democratized. You don't need a sprawling office in Los Angeles to create a world that looks this good. By leveraging the power of a community-driven engine, Vostok has paved the way for other solo developers to realize their dreams without being tethered to corporate middleware that might change the rules of the game mid-development. This independence is exactly why the game feels so pure. There is no executive at the top telling the developer to make the game more accessible or to add a dance emote. It is a singular vision, uncompromised. The AI in Vostok deserves its own chapter. They don't behave like mobs. They behave like survivors. They take cover. They retreat when they're wounded. And they don't always engage you on sight. Sometimes you'll spot another scav across a field, and you'll both just watch each other. There's a silent pact of not today. This unpredictability makes the world feel inhabited by people, not just scripts. The potential for the future here lies in the living world aspect. As the dynamic weather system evolves, where a sudden blizzard can drop your body temperature and force you to find shelter immediately. The game becomes less of a shooter and more of a life simulator in the harshest conditions imaginable. The roadmap suggests a future where the economy, the seasons, and the territorial control of different factions create a shifting landscape that no two players will experience the same way. So why is a game like Road to Vostok so important? Because it represents the decentralization of the hardcore genre. For years, the hardcore tactical space was dominated by a few big names that grew bloated and disconnected from their roots. Vostok is a reminder that a game can be niche and still be world-class. It is important because it values immersion over addiction. It doesn't use psychological tricks to keep you playing. It uses atmosphere and challenge. It's a game that asks you to sit in the dark, listen to the rain on a tin roof, and carefully clean your rifle while planning your next move. It celebrates the slow moments of gaming. The future of Road to Vostok is a bright spot in an often cynical industry. It shows us that if you build something with passion, transparency, and a deep respect for the player's ability to handle difficulty, the community will show up to support it. This isn't just a game about crossing a border into a wasteland. It's about the indie scene crossing a border into a new era of technical and creative excellence. Road to Vostok is a masterpiece in the making, and it's a journey that every fan of the medium should be watching with bated breath. So where does that leave us as we stand on the precipice of what Road to Vostok is becoming? Ultimately, this project is more than just a sequence of code and high-fidelity textures. It is the antithesis to the modern, sanitized gaming industry. It serves as a stark, chilly reminder that we don't need a roadmap filled with seasonal cosmetics to stay engaged. We just need a world that feels real enough to fear. Whether you're a veteran of the hardcore tactical genre, or someone who just appreciates the artistry of a solo dev taking on the world with nothing but a dream and the Godot engine, this is a journey worth taking. It's a game that asks you to be patient, to be careful, and most importantly, to be present. The road to Vostok is long, grueling, and likely to end in your digital demise more than once. But in an industry that has spent the last decade trying to make games as smooth and frictionless as possible, there is something deeply rewarding about a game that bites back. It's a return to the roots of why we play, for the thrill of the challenge and the stories we tell when we barely make it out alive. If you've spent any time crossing these borders, I want to hear your stories in the comments. What was that one Vostok moment where everything went sideways? How are you finding the transition to the latest build? I'll be down there chatting with you all, likely mourning the loss of my own latest save file. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Finnish wilderness, do the usual YouTube rituals. Hit the like button, subscribe to stay tuned for more tactical breakdowns, and maybe share this with that one friend who still thinks hardcore just means turning off the HUD. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and stay warm out there. The winter in Vostok is unforgiving, and the border is always watching.